Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back, guys. I'm back with Claudine, and today we're talking about the Crown of Thorns. And I know there's like some exciting story around this, around Notre Dame too. They were trying to find it during the fire. I watched a whole documentary about this. I'm sure you're going to talk about it, but I'm going to let Claudine take it from here.
Yeah, that is, I saw that documentary too. Of course, I was like, oh, it has Notre Dame on it. I better watch it. But it is The Crown of Thorns, and I will tell you about that, what happened at the fire. But this goes back a little farther. And why is it that we even have it here in Paris?
Why do we? Oh, that was on the documentary too.
Don't spoil it yet.
Okay.
So right now, if you are in Paris or you come here in the future, every Friday until Easter in the season of Lent, you could see the Crown of Thorns. Right now, it is until next Easter, which I can't wait. Next Easter, we'll be able to see it back in Notre Dame. But right now, in the last few years, it has been in the Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois. And so that church is just right there at the end of the Louvre, very close to the edge of the Seine and on towards Notre Dame. But that is where it is. And you could see it every Friday during Lent at 3 o'clock. From 3 to 5 o'clock, and they do a very like the veneration of the Crown of Thorns. There's a whole ceremony that comes out, but you could go and get up close and even kiss it if you want.
Wait, you can kiss it? Wow, that sounds
yeah. I mean, was it 2 years ago when I saw it? They were not letting people kiss it in the age of COVID, but now they're back to Q. You could give it a little kiss, and then they clean it.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that close to it, but I have gone in there to see it, and I'll have to go see it again this week. But since the fire on April 15th, 2019, the Crown of Thorns have been safely hidden away. Some things say that it's hidden away in the Louvre, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know if it's probably not in Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois, because I don't know if they have the, where it was kept in Notre Dame, which I'll tell you about, was under heavy, heavy security, and part of the reason why it was hard to get it out. But it could be hiding away in the Louvre when not on view. But why is it in Paris, you wonder? The Crown of Thorns and the other instruments of the Passion were purchased in the year 1238 by King Louis IX, who was later known as Saint Louis, the only king of France that became a saint. And he brought them to Paris. But we'll go back a little bit further. So the crown was said to have been discovered in the 4th century after Emperor Constantine ordered what was thought to be the tomb of Christ to be opened. His mother, Saint Helene, came along and found the crown, the true cross, the nails, and part of the instruments of Passion, and set up a chapel in Jerusalem to hold them. So between the years 614 and 637, when the city of Jerusalem was captured, the relics began their voyage to Constantinople. I've always loved, I wish that country was still called Constantinople, because I always just love saying the word.
It is a great city name.
And there was that song. Isn't there a song about Constantinople? Yeah, exactly. For centuries, they stayed until the Byzantine city was conquered at the beginning of the 13th century and was given to the Latin emperor in hopes that it would protect the now fractured capital. But the cousin of Saint Louis, Baldwin II, the Emperor of Constantinople, came to France asking him to help with a massive debt he had incurred when he borrowed money from the Venetians. And in return for borrowing money as collateral, he gave the Crown of Thorns. So from November 10th, 1238 to February 1239, the crown resided in Venice as St. Mark's Cathedral. Baldwin II, in return for the help that Louis would give him, he promised France the crown of thorns. But it wasn't such an easy transaction because the Venetian barons were in desperate need of money and they borrowed against the relics and sped up the clock. So the French envoy had to race to Venice to retrieve them in time or they'd become the property of Venice. And just think of back then. I mean, now it's like you get a text message and they'd be like, buddy, you want this? You better get here tomorrow.
Yeah, like you better get on it, man. This deal is going.
The 13th century, they're like, sending a letter by post, and so you're going to get it 6 months later.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. So St. Louis sent two Dominicans, Jacques and Andre, and right away they went and they grabbed the relics as Jacques had seen them before, so he had known what they looked like and he could authenticate them. The deadline was June 18th, which is the feast day of Saint-Gervais and Protais. It was, if not purchased by that day, it would be forever the property of Venice. But Jacques and Andre arrived a day before on June 17th, 1238, and were met with a new challenge and a new price tag. While the crown was in Venice, 70 of the very long 2 to 3 inch long thorns were cut off and began to be distributed around the world. Saint-Germain, the Bishop of Paris, and even Charlemagne had been given thorns. There's even a thorn that was given to King Chuck of England, King Charles, when he was coronated. But so they were taking care of it because they thought, oh, this is ours now. We could do whatever we want. But Louis had already paid 21,000 pounds to free the crown to bail out his cousin. But as Jacques and Andre arrived, they were given a new bill for 137,000 pounds.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. And that is half the budget of the French monarchy for an entire year.
Holy cow. He
Yeah,
really
a
wanted
lot of
that
money.
thing.
Yeah. But he paid the fee. He agreed that the Venetians could hold on to the crown for the faithful to see a few more times at St. Mark's. Negotiations took 6 months, and in December 1238, it was finally ready to go on its way. It arrived in France in a small town called Villeneuve-l'Archevêque near Saint, where the bishop there held over it. On August 10th, 1239, Louis arrived where he saw the Archbishop Gautier, who carried the relics out and placed them into his hands. The next day, Saint Louis, his mother, Blanche de Castille, and his brother, Robert d'Artois, left by boat on the Yonne River to Vincennes at the edge of Paris. And then on August 18th, Louis, in a simple tunic and barefoot, walked the crown into Paris. The path from Vincennes all the way to Notre Dame was lined with people holding up torches as it got dark so they could see it. Upon arriving at Notre Dame, a mass was held before they took the crown to the Palais de la Cité, holding it in the chapel of Saint Nicolas until a perfect reliquary could be created.
What a journey.
What a journey. And that tunic he was wearing was also in Notre Dame when the fire happened. We still have that one. It's missing an arm because they believe they cut it off at one time and they distributed the pieces of the arm of the tunic. So it's just basically a plain white like sheath. But they still had that in Notre Dame and it was saved. Not just any building would work for holding these relics, some of the most important relics in the world. But 2 years later, in the autumn of 1241, the construction of the chapel, which is known as Sainte-Chapelle, was started. The same year, Louis acquired a large piece of the Holy Cross, a vial of the Holy Blood, and the tombstone. The following year, he got the sponge and the spear and came into possession and were all placed in Sainte-Chapelle after it was consecrated on April 26th, my birthday, 1248. Sainte-Chapelle and Saint-Eustache were consecrated on April 26th. Such a great day.
It is a great day. That's a very special day connected to you.
Yeah, but they would remain in the Jewel Box Church until March 1789. In 1791, the Conseil d'État suppressed the church and sequestered the relics. On March 12th, they were removed for safekeeping and taken to the Abbey of Saint-Denis in a cardboard box. But until that time, they were never like you're thinking these are, the most important relics in Christianity. but they never belonged until to the Catholic Church until 1791. They were always a possession of the king.
That's wild. I had no idea.
I know that one that kind of surprised me. But in the darkened night between November 11th and 12th, 1793, the relics were taken to the mint, melted down and destroyed. Only the crown and the piece of the true cross survived. So everything else, all of that, the vial of blood, the spear, the sponge, everything was destroyed.
I mean, imagine how many
Revolution.
things we've lost over the years in war and like pillaging.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
so
some
much.
like so many things. Like anytime I'm doing research, especially of the revolution or the commune, those two are the big things that basically the commune was the big one in Paris. It destroyed the buildings, but the revolution destroyed so many the furniture and all of these things that, we just don't have. But I'm like, those are the things I'm like, oh, I wish we had that.
Yeah, that would have been nice to keep some of that stuff.
It would have been pretty cool. In October 1804, 2 months after, but 2 months before the coronation of Mr. Napoleon Bonaparte, he had the relics transferred to Notre Dame. And then on August 10th, 1806, they were seen by the public for the very first time, and more than 30,000 people came into Notre Dame to see it, to see the crown and the true cross.
That's so cool.
It's pretty crazy. On July 29th, 1830, during the Three Glorious Days, the Archbishop Louis de Caylin fled the church with the relics under his arm while an angry mob broke into the cathedral. Many of the relics of the cathedral were stolen, melted down, or just tossed into the Seine.
What?
Crazy.
They just threw it into the river?
Just threw it into the river. And even like when the massive painting by Jacques Louis David of the Sacre de Napoleon, the coronation, he's holding a crown in his head, a hand over the head of Josephine. That's the crown of Josephine, not the crown that he used. You see that to the left of the between his two brothers on the painting. But this crown, the one of Josephine, was one of the things lost, and I would have loved to. I've never even seen a photo of it. All I've ever seen is what Jacques Louis David painted. But they destroyed so many things. I mean, the sacristy at Notre Dame was looted like 2 or 3 times, and so many things have been just destroyed that we've never seen.
That's so sad.
But wouldn't it be cool if they're like maybe trudging through the Seine? Maybe now that they're gonna quote unquote clean it up for the Olympics, maybe they'll find something.
I mean, could you imagine? They're like, whoa, look at this crown down here.
Yeah, what's this thing? Yeah. Um, what the crown is made of has always been in question with a few possible answers. It is two separate plants. It's a reed that was braided into a crown, and a thorny branch is wrapped around it and bent inwards. So, as I said, these thorns, when originally thought of the crown of thorns, I was thinking of, like the thorns on a rose bush. But these were like literally 2 to 3 inches long, massive, sharp, hard thorns.
And people are kissing that thing?
Well, no, I'll tell you, it's in a very fancy container now. But they wrapped it around it, and then they did it so that the crowns are pointing in. So when they put it on his head, that's why when you see it a lot of times in art, his head is bleeding. Not very
That
nice.
makes sense. Wow.
Not very nice. But the thorny branch is thought to be the Judea shrub found in Jerusalem, sometimes called a buckthorn. But all of the very large thorns, as I had said before, were removed when they were in Venice. The braided reed crown also suffered damages when they cut pieces away from it over time. During the revolution, in order to protect the crown, they cut it into 3 separate pieces and kept them separated so that they'd always have hopefully one piece of it. Thankfully, we have all of it today. The current reliquary that you could see, and I'll put pictures of all this on my website. It's really beautiful. It was made by the goldsmith Maurice Pusligo-Rossin. He in 1896 from a design by the architect Jules Godfrey Ostrach. Maurice's father, Placide, created the former reliquary. It's a hollow tube of rock crystal. So it's almost kind of like a big donut.
I love it.
And it's encased in gold mesh with a garland on the outs on 2/3 of it of flowers, leaves, fruits, and thorns. The bottom part of it is just clear crystal, so that's where you could actually see it and see into it. They're joined together with on three little joints, and that's where the gold clasp is. It's joining the three pieces, and it's topped with an enamel seal on each of the three. And what I love about it is that there is Saint Denis and Saint Geneviève, and the third is the Virgin Mary. But our girl Saint Geneviève is there.
All our favorites.
All our favorites. On the back is the crest of Saint Louis, the crest of the city of Paris, and an effigy of Christ being crowned with the thorns. The previous reliquary created by Viollet-le-Duc is amazing. I will never forget seeing it for the first time in like 2016. And they just recently had it on display in the Louvre in the special exhibit they did. So these things will be back in the sacristy when it reopens. In 1862, Viollet produced with goldsmith Placide Pouliac-Rossin, who was the son. And he was a sculptor of Notre Dame, Adolphe Victor Geoffroy Duchamp, who did the statues that we just talked about last week, the statues on the roof, the statues on the front of Notre Dame. He did all of those. It was first used on Palm Sunday, March 29th, 1863, and they still were using it prior to the fire. It's surrounded on the top with the French fleur-de-lis, and then it has sculptures. This is all in gold and brass. Has fleur-de-lis and then the 12 apostles. And below that, there's three larger little statues. One is of Saint Louis holding the crown, also of Baldwin II, his cousin, that is the one why we have it, and his mother, Saint Helena, who supposedly found it. It's really amazing, and I'll put pictures of it on my website. But on the night of the fire on April 15th, 2019, after we watched the spire and the rooster fall from the sky, my next fear was the relics of the sacristy and the crown. But the very tight security that the crown is kept in made it very difficult for this high pressure moment. It's tucked away into the floor in the back chapel in a series of combination key locks that require two keys. The keys are never together. So they're two different people have the keys. At the night of, they had a state of panic because they could not get a hold of one of the gentlemen that had the key. He had then when he came running there, as soon as he heard about the fire, he could hardly get through the crowd. The keys were then handed to the chaplain of the Pompiers du Paris, Jean-Marc Fournier, who put his life on the line and had them on the phone. And they were telling him what to do, because you put the keys in and you turn them like a combination. So the keys, and you have to do that 2 separate times. So that they were able to pull out the crown of thorns, and then also get the tunic and some the more precious pieces that night. And then the next day they got everything else out of the church. But since then it was locked away, as they said it was in the Louvre, and maybe even still today. And as I said, you could see it every Friday from 3 to 5 until Good Friday. On Good Friday, it is there all day long from 10 to 5. You could see it. There's a very specific ceremony that they have to do and it has evolved over time, but it all is based in the ceremony that Saint Louis created, not the Catholic Church. And he was the one who said that they could only be shown around Easter.
He's the one that decided that, and they're still carrying that on. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
They never stopped that.
And under what he wanted it to be 785 years ago.
Whoa, they really stuck to that one. That must have been so stressful during the fire. You think it would have been in a fireproof safe or something?
I mean, it's deep into the ground. I mean, we of course have never seen pictures. They only tell us so much about how it's kept. I'm sure that's going to change once it goes back, because there's enough information out there about how it was kept, but not too many details. But literally it was in the ground, in the floor.
Wow, lesson learned.
And there's all these, what was the name of that show? Because it was really interesting, because they show, is that Netflix show, it's about the different reliquaries in the world.
Yeah, it's like Relics of the World or something.
Yeah, something like that. But it's really funny because I watched it and I recognize those guys. So that's called the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. And they are the ones who guard the crown. And so when it is taken out, like when they had it, I've seen it a couple times this season at Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois, and they have it in the Chapel of the Virgin, and then it comes out, and the highest member of the church carries it out. And these knights, these men, stay next to it. And a couple years ago on Good Friday, they yelled at me and told me to get out because I was in the corner making a video. But I didn't hold that against him. But now you see people walk right up to it, kiss it, and take a picture. I would never do that. I find that's really disrespectful. But um, they some of the same guys that are in that Netflix documentary I see every time I see The Crown of Thorns.
Because they're knights protecting it from videos and photos.
Yeah, well, I think that now maybe it was just because it was Good Friday they yelled at me, but I cannot wait for Easter of 2025 because it will be back in Notre Dame. And the thing is that when the fire happened on April 15th, 2019, it was Holy Week. And that was, I think it was a Monday. And I was going to be in Paris and arrive on Friday, which was going to be Good Friday. And I was so excited to be able to go there and see for the very first time the veneration of the Crown of Thorns. And as I watched the fire on, TV, I was like, oh, that's not going to happen.
Never mind.
No, but you could still visit Saint-Chapelle today. It is no longer an active church. None of the reliquaries are there, but it's a must to see the 1,200 stained glass windows, including the very last set of windows on the south side. There's 171 windows in the last section, and they are all about the how the crown of thorns were discovered and how they got to Paris. The first one shows the reliquary or the relics being discovered by Saint Helene, and then the last one, at the very very top of the window, is Saint Louis in adoration of the crown. But the crown could also be spotted all over my other favorite place, the Musée du Louvre, from the Italian masters in the Grand Gallery to the French paintings in the Sully wing. And I'll post a few of those on my website. But it is, and I've had some people say, is it really the real one? Or, and it's all of these, you could believe whatever you want. You could have faith in whatever you want. I'm giving you the history that we know and how it came to Paris. But it is, even if, we were not raised Catholic, we were not even raised really going to church except for sometimes on a holiday, but that's it. And there's something very moving when you see it. I mean, I was definitely like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm standing here and that's the crown of thorns.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty special experience, even religious or not, like the history around it. Definitely worth going to see it if you can.
Yeah, definitely go see it. So again, you have a couple more Fridays to go see it. And then on Good Friday, you could have all day long to see it. But then they also bring it out on the first Friday of every month from 3 to 5 p.m. So all throughout the year on the first Friday. And so I'm sure it's going to make a big return into Notre Dame on December 8th. So the week before that which would be, I think, the first. Well, I guess no, I think the first Friday would just be because Sunday, December 8th is the day it's going to open. So on Friday, December 7th might be the last time you see it in Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois, and then it's back into Notre Dame.
Well, guys, I hope you can go check it out and head on over to ClaudineHemingway.com to see those photos, to book tours, and to learn more history. And
Thanks for listening today, guys.
Next week.
If you're interested in learning more about Claudine, her tours, history, and the beautiful photographs that she posts all over Instagram, tune into her website, ClaudineHemingway.com.